You know this sound. It's all over the place. It's not your campfire chords, not really your power chords. It's something a little bit more. My name's Kent, and we're gonna talk about this chord progression. It's so simple. Just 2 chords, that's it. We're gonna start with an A shape. Unfortunately, barring is mandatory here. Sorry. If you're not really into barring or you find it tricky, that's okay. All the more reason to start to learn this chord, because once you get it, it'll sound awesome. So, with this bar chord, we are going to take our pointer finger and we are going to put it on the 2nd fret of strings 4, 3, 2. String 1 is optional, so if you accidentally bar it and you play it, totally fine. This is, it's more rock and roll to play extra strings anyway. So our first A chord is gonna sound like this. Okay, now the hard part. We're gonna do a first inversion D major triad. So this is a fancy way of saying a D chord, but we're gonna put an F sharp in the bass, which is the 3rd. You can use either your ring or your pinky finger for the 4th fret of the 4th string. So we are gonna keep our bar down, and we can stretch here with our ring or pinky finger, or if you're up for it, use your ring finger and get that big stretch. You're gonna wanna do this eventually, but you can work up to it. So you can start with your pinky and eventually get to your ring. Remember, that the first finger bar still needs to be pushed down. And then we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to add it to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So we've got kind of a D shape up here, but we're throwing in this F sharp. You might be doing it with your pinky, totally fine. Let's hear this chord. Awesome. So we're now going to throw the open A under this chord. So it's really going to make this chord sound like a D/A chord or a D over A chord. Don't stress about the names. That's just what they're called. Cool. So we're going to mix this with our first A chord that we did. And we're going to do 2 strums on each chord. We'll do it slow first. We'll go through it a few times. And then we're going to do it again faster. So we're going to do 8 bars total for each tempo. Let's try it together. So here we go. So we got. Okay, let's try it again. And a little bit faster this time. So here we go, 3, 4. So rock and roll, right? Let's kick this up another notch. So we're going to do a hammer-on for the 2nd chord, and then we're going to hit it again. So this is a little tricky to do, but just do it slow and you'll get the hang of this. So we're going to do 1, and then we're going to hammer on to this 2nd chord, and then we're going to strike it after, okay? So it's going to be like 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, okay? So we go. Pretty tricky, but just go slow, build it up, get the hand strength going, and you'll get it for sure. This chord can actually move up and down the neck. So we can actually take this shape and move it anywhere. So let's give it a try. Keep in mind, if we move this up, we want to make sure that that open A is not included anymore. It might sound cool, but it's really not going to be the same sound that we're trying to go for here. So let's take this same shape and we're going to move it up to the 5th fret. Okay, so it's the same bar you were doing for that A. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. So we're barring on fret 5, and we're keeping the same strings. Nothing else is changing. We're just not going to include this open A string. So we have this shape. This is a C chord, but you can think of it as your A shape moved up. And then we're going to move the 2nd chord in and it's going to be our ring finger or your pinky on the 7th fret of the 4th string, and then our middle finger is going to go on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and that's our 2nd chord. So our progression up here is going to be so we're going to take the same shape. Let's try it in one other spot. We're going to move it down 2 frets. So we're going to play it on the 3rd fret. So we're going to have the bar on 3. And then we're going to make our second shape here. I love taking this chord progression and moving it all over the neck. I love little ideas like that that I can just use all over because it's such a familiar sound. Any combination will work, and it just always sounds so rock and roll. Let's talk about moving this chord progression around. So let's start with it on the 5th fret here. So we have that chord progression. Then we're going to move it up to the 8th fret. So we're going to have this sound. And then we're going to go 2 frets higher to the 10th fret. Again, same shape. And then we're going to go back to the 5th fret. So let's do each chord twice. So it's going to sound like this. We're going to go. Now you know this trick. Where do you use it? It works really great on one chord. So if you're just doing like an A vamp or the chord's just an A and you want to spice things up a little bit, it'll sound great. So if we just have an A bass. It'll sound awesome. We could also do it as a 1-4 progression as well, if in the key of A. So this would be A going to D. So in the key of A, that's the 1 chord, which is A, going to the 4 chord, which is D. You may have heard this chord progression in a bunch of other places too, like the We Will Rock You guitar solo. He does it up an octave. He goes. Keith Richards does this all the time. Start Me Up, has it on the 5th fret, then he moves it to the 3rd fret. He goes. Pretty classic. The beginning of I Wanna Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss is up here. And you may know it from Free with All Right Now. They add a couple extra cool chords, but the beginning is the same. So in conclusion, you can use these chords to come up with really great riffs. They work all over the guitar neck. And the cool thing about it is they all really sound great together. Even if they're not quite in the same key, you can actually jump from one spot to the other. Because the chord movement is so similar, it's going to sound awesome. Does this sound familiar to you? Does this sound like a song you know? I'd love to know what tunes you've heard this chord progression in. Feel free to comment below and let me know what tune you've heard this riff in. If you found some value in this video, feel free to hit the like button or the subscribe button below the video if you want to get more really awesome quick tips like this one. We'll catch you on the next one.